Before United College was formed as a merger between St Salvator's and St Leonard's in 1747, students had both lived and worked in the four walls of the college. In the 1700s, the only meal taken in the hall was the midday dinner, with a tendency for supper and breakfast to be taken in the students' rooms. College gates opened at 6 a.m. and closed at 10 p.m. Students were roused at 5 in the morning by the college bell, after which a member of staff supervising the students made the rounds, as he did again at 9 in the evening. Dinner and supper were taken together in the hall, but by the 1800s, breakfast was served in the students' room. The students initially continued to live together in United College after the merger, two in a room. Minimal furniture was provided, a table and a bed. Shown here are the plans for Reed's designs that included just 9 rooms on the second floor of the north wing. These plans would not have been completed due to the university running out of money to complete all of Reed's plans. The university currently has just over 10,000 students, but it's not always been this large, with a comparatively small student population in the 19th century. The smaller number of students meant that they were all able to fit in a confined space, such as the quad. To put into context, in 1805 the university only had 70 students. Numbers fluctuated across the 19th century, but didn't rise above 200.
Gradually, however, students began to move out of the quad. George Hill, a professor of Greek and chancellor of the university from 1788 to 1811, discouraged college residence, as he believed that students would be better in private lodgings. Professors would then no longer have to supervise and discipline students living in the quad, so savings were made for the university. In addition, the conditions in the college accommodation were often poor, as there were no curtains or carpets in the rooms, and they were often described as dingy.
For most of the 19th century, male students lived in private accommodation in town, despite attempts to revive college living by the principal at the time, James Forbes. St Leonard's Hall opened in 1861 to house 40 students. Forbes opened St Leonard's Hall with the aim of recruiting sons from the most, in the words of Forbes, honourable families in Scotland, as they'd all been attending St Andrews before they started going to Oxford and Cambridge. Honourable in this context was likely related to the members of aristocracy and the wealth of the families in general. St Leonard's Hall closed in 1874 after some initial success in attracting students. The next major change to accommodation was when women were allowed to formally study at the university. St Andrews was at the forefront of the movement for higher education of women in Scotland. Women were initially only entitled to enter for examinations, but eventually they were allowed full membership of the university. In 1889, a University Act meant that women were allowed to officially be admitted to universities in Scotland. In 1894, Angus Blackadder was the first woman to officially graduate at the same level as men in St Andrews. An official hall of residence was opened for the women, University Hall, seen here and currently still in use by students. After the foundation of University Hall, proposals of a male hall of residence started to be revived. In 1921, Chatton House began to house male undergraduates, but the main change for male accommodation happened in 1927, with a donation from an American philanthropist.
Dr. Edward S. Harkness donated £100,000 to the university in 1927, with £70,000 of this going towards the funding of a permanent hall of residence. St Salvator's Hall, more commonly referred to as Sally's, was then opened in 1930. It is fitting that as the university moved into a period of greater stability at the beginning of the 20th century, the experience was very much still connected to the quad, founded almost 500 years before, to provide a shared location for studies.